Lyra Blackwood's boots crunched on crystalline sand as she approached the towering spire before her. The structure rose like a frozen flame, its translucent surfaces catching the light of Luminara's three moons. Her research team had discovered the ruins just yesterday, but already she felt drawn to their mysterious beauty. Dr. Blackwood called out her assistant, Nash Rivera, from behind her. The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this place is, it's still active. Lyra brushed her auburn hair from her face, adjusting the environmental suit that protected her from Luminara's unique atmosphere. The planet's crystal-based ecosystem had produced remarkable adaptations in its native species, including the luminarians themselves. Their skin contained light-refracting properties that made them appear to shimmer and glow. "Let's proceed carefully," she replied, running her scanner over the entrance. "These ruins predate even luminarian civilization. We need to." A sudden tremor shook the ground, sending cascades of crystal dust raining down from above. Nash stumbled backward, but Lyra maintained her footing, years of field experience keeping her steady. "That's the third quake today," Nash said nervously. "Maybe we should wait for backup." Lyra shook her head. "The Luminarian Science Council only gave us 3 days for initial assessment. We can't waste time." She activated her suit's recording systems and stepped forward into the entrance. The interior of the spire took her breath away. Geometric patterns covered every surface, each line and angle precisely calculated to capture and redirect light in mesmerizing ways. Her scanner detected no signs of conventional power sources, yet the entire chamber hummed with energy. "Remarkable," she whispered. "The entire structure appears to be one massive crystal circuit, but what was it designed to do?" Before Nash could respond, a new voice echoed through the chamber. "Perhaps I can help answer that question." Lyra spun around to find herself face-to-face with a tall, elegant figure. His skin shimmered with patterns of blue and silver, marking him as luminarian nobility. A ceremonial crown of crystal spikes adorned his head. "Prince Tavius," she said, quickly bowing. "I wasn't aware the royal family took an interest in archaeological expeditions." The prince's expression remained neutral, but his skin flickered with patterns that suggested curiosity. "When it comes to the ancient ones, Dr. Blackwood, everything interests the royal family, especially when their ruins begin activating for the first time in millennia." Lyra's scientific mind raced with implications. "Activating? You mean the energy readings we've detected are not isolated to this site," Tavius finished. "Similar structures across our world have begun stirring. The quakes you've felt are just the beginning." Nash took an involuntary step backward. "Beginning of what?" Before Tavius could answer, a more violent tremor rocked the chamber. This time, the geometric patterns on the walls flared with brilliant light. Lyra's scanner screamed with alerts as energy levels spiked dramatically. "Everyone out," she shouted, but it was too late. A beam of concentrated light burst from the center of the chamber, forming a holographic display that filled the air around them. Symbols and diagrams Lyra had never seen before danced through the space. "Impossible," Tavius breathed, his skin now pulsing with patterns of gold and white. "These are the prophecies of the Star Makers." Lyra stared in amazement as the holographic display seemed to focus on her. Ancient symbols swirled around her body, scanning her from head to toe. "What's happening?" "The ruins," Tavius said slowly, "they're responding to your presence, to your DNA." His expression grew troubled. This changes everything." Another tremor shook the chamber, stronger than before. Chunks of crystal began falling from the ceiling. Nash grabbed Lyra's arm. "We need to leave now." But Lyra couldn't move. The holographic display had coalesced into a single image. A human figure standing beside a luminarian, their joined hands holding what appeared to be a key made of pure light. Tavius's voice carried both awe and fear. "The prophecy speaks of two beings, one of stars and one of earth, who would either unite our worlds or destroy them both." His skin rippled with deep purple concern. "Dr. Blackwood, I believe you've just become far more important to Luminara than either of us could have imagined." The chamber's light show abruptly ceased, plunging them into relative darkness. As they hurried out of the unstable structure, Lyra's mind whirled with questions. She had come to Luminara seeking archaeological discoveries, not prophecies and political intrigue. Back outside, she found the landscape transformed. The crystalline desert sparkled with newfound energy, and in the distance, more ancient spires had begun to glow. "The High Council will need to be informed immediately," Tavius said, his formal manner returning. And you, Dr. Blackwood, will need protection. There are those among my people who would do anything to prevent the prophecy from being fulfilled. I'm an archaeologist, Lyra protested, not some prophesied savior. Tavius's skin flickered with what might have been amusement. Perhaps you are both. Either way, your discovery today has set events in motion that cannot be stopped. He gestured toward the distant capital city, its crystal towers gleaming in the moonlight. Come, we have much to discuss and time grows short. As they walked toward the waiting transport, Lyra cast one last look at the ancient spire. Its surface still pulsed with residual energy, like a beacon calling out across time itself. Whatever she had stumbled into, she knew her life would never be the same. Nash fell into step beside her, his voice low. So much for a routine expedition, huh? Lyra managed a small smile. When has anything about Luminara ever been routine? But inside, she felt the weight of destiny settling onto her shoulders. The prophecy's images haunted her thoughts, especially that mysterious key of light. What did it unlock, and more importantly, what would be the cost of finding out? The transport lifted off, carrying them toward the capital and whatever fate awaited. Behind them, the ancient spires continued their silent vigil, their secrets only beginning to unfold. The royal archives of Luminara stretched endlessly before Lyra, its crystalline shelves containing millennia of knowledge. She had spent 3 days here since the incident at the ancient spire, searching for any mention of the prophecy that had apparently chosen her. More tea, Dr. Blackwood. Lyra looked up to find Jasper Venn, the royal archivist, hovering nearby. His skin sparkled with gentle copper tones, a sign of genuine concern. Unlike many luminarians who viewed her with suspicion, Jasper had been nothing but helpful. Thank you, Jasper, she said, accepting the offered cup. The liquid inside shimmered like liquid starlight. Any progress on translating those symbols we found? The archivist's skin dimmed slightly. The ancient dialect is challenging, but there's something about a convergence of paths, a moment when stars and earth must choose as one. Very helpful, Lyra muttered, rubbing her temples. She missed Nash's practical perspective, but her assistant had been reassigned to catalog the other awakening ruins across the planet. A shadow fell across her desk. Perhaps I can offer some insight. Prince Tavius stood there, his royal regalia replaced by simpler scholarly robes. His skin still rippled with the complex patterns of nobility, but there was a weariness in his stance that hadn't been there before. Your Highness, Jasper bowed deeply and quickly retreated. Tavius took the vacant seat across from Lyra. The High Council is growing restless. More ruins activate each day, and rumors of the prophecy have begun spreading through the capital. I don't suppose they're taking it well. That a human might be key to our planet's destiny, his skin flickered with dark humor. Let's just say opinions are divided. Lyra closed the ancient text she'd been studying. I've been meaning to ask, why did you believe the prophecy so quickly? Most nobles I've met can barely tolerate looking at me. Tavius was quiet for a moment, his skin shifting through thoughtful shades of blue. Because I've seen the signs. The rising frequency of stellar anomalies, the changes in our crystal forests, the dreams that plague our sleep. Something is coming, Lyra, something that will change everything. A distant rumble shook the archive's shelves. The tremors had been growing stronger, more frequent. We should, Lyra began, but stopped as she noticed Tavius's skin had suddenly gone pale with alarm. Down, he shouted, lunging across the table to tackle her just as the window behind them exploded inward. They hit the floor as crystalline shards rained down around them. A figure in dark armor swung through the broken window, landing with impossible grace. More followed, their weapons trained on the prone forms of Lyra and Tavius. The prophecy dies here, the leader announced, voice distorted through their helmet. Tavius pulled Lyra behind a heavy shelf as energy blasts scorched the spot they just occupied. The obsidian hand, he growled. Traditionalist extremists who believe Luminara should remain pure. Wonderful, Lyra muttered, flinching as another blast hit nearby. Please tell me you have plan. His skin rippled with determination. The archives connect to the old evacuation tunnels. If we can reach them. He broke off as heavy footsteps approached their position. Lyra's mind raced. The shelf wouldn't protect them for long, but making a run for it would leave them exposed. Then she noticed the crystalline construction of the shelves themselves. Tavius, she whispered urgently, your people can manipulate light right. He nodded, skin showing confusion. Then on my signal, channel as much energy as you can through these shelves. The crystal matrix should create a cascading refraction effect, he finished, understanding dawning. Brilliant. The footsteps grew closer. Lyra could see the shadow of their attacker approaching around the edge of the shelf. And now, she yelled. Tavius pressed his hands against the crystal shelf, his skin blazing with intense light. The energy coursed through the crystalline structure, creating a blinding web of redirected light that filled the entire archive. Their attackers cried out in pain and confusion as the light overwhelmed their sensors. Lyra grabbed Tavius's hand and ran, weaving between the shelves toward the archive's rear wall. Here, Tavius said, pressing his palm against what looked like solid crystal. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow passage. They ducked inside just as the light show began to fade. The tunnel was dark save for the gentle glow of Tavius's skin. They moved quickly, the sounds of pursuit growing distant. They'll be watching all the normal exits, Tavius said as they reached a junction. We need to get you somewhere safe. Safe? Lyra laughed bitterly. I'm apparently part of some world-changing prophecy. There are assassins trying to kill us, and your planet's ancient ruins are having a collective awakening. I don't think safe exists anymore. Tavius stopped, turning to face her. His skin rippled with complex emotions. I'm sorry you were drawn into this, but I believe the prophecy chose you for a reason. There's something about you, Lyra Blackwood, that resonates with the very heart of Luminara. Before she could respond, a new tremor shook the tunnel stronger than any before. Cracks appeared in the crystal walls, spreading like lightning. Run, Tavius shouted, but the floor was already crumbling beneath them. They fell together into darkness, the tunnel collapsing around them. Lyra felt Tavius grab her, pulling her close as they tumbled through layers of ancient crystal infrastructure. They landed hard on something soft, vegetation from one of the underground crystal forests. As Lyra caught her breath, she realized they were in a vast cavern she'd never seen in any geological survey. And at its center stood another spire, larger than any they'd discovered on the surface. Its surface was already beginning to pulse with familiar energy. By the ancient stars, Tavius breathed, his skin glowing with wonder. The archive of ages, it was supposed to be a myth. Lyra stared at the massive structure, its geometric patterns more complex than anything she'd yet encountered. Something tells me we were meant to find this place. The question is, Tavius said grimly, did anyone else know it was here? As if in answer, distant voices echoed through the cavern. The obsidian hand had found another way down. Lyra looked at the spire, then at Tavius. Well, Your Highness, shall we see what other mysteries your planet has in store for us? His skin flickered with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Lead the way, Dr. Blackwood. It seems destiny has plans for us both. Together they approached the ancient spire, while above them the future of two worlds hung in the balance. The archive of ages hummed with ancient power as Lyra and Tavius approached its towering entrance. Their footsteps echoed across the vast underground cavern, mixing with the distant sounds of pursuit. The obsidian hand will be here soon, Tavius said, his skin pulsing with urgency. We need to. Wait, Lyra grabbed his arm, studying the geometric patterns that covered the spire's surface. These markings are different from the others. See how they spiral inward? It's like they're drawing power to a central point. A blast of energy struck the crystal formations behind them, sending shards flying. Through the settling dust, dark-armored figures emerged from multiple tunnels. Inside now, Tavius pushed Lyra toward the entrance. As they crossed the threshold, he pressed his palm against a crystal panel. Light surged through the doorway's frame, creating a barrier just as their pursuers reached it. That won't hold them long, he said grimly. Lyra was barely listening. The interior of the archive took her breath away. Unlike the raw crystal architecture of the surface ruins, this space was perfectly engineered. Bridges of pure light connected floating platforms, each holding what appeared to be storage matrices of incredible complexity. This is impossible, she whispered. The energy required to maintain a structure like this. Dr. Blackwood, a familiar voice called from above. Nash Rivera stood on one of the higher platforms, waving frantically. Nash, what are you doing here? Her assistant's face was tight with worry. Following a lead about the awakening ruins, but we've got bigger problems. The whole planet's crystal matrix is destabilizing. The quakes aren't natural, they're a warning system. A massive tremor shook the archive as if emphasizing his point. On the platforms above, ancient data crystals began to glow. Warning us about what? Tavius demanded, his skin showing patterns of deepening concern. Before Nash could answer, slow applause echoed through the chamber. A figure stepped from the shadows of a higher bridge, tall, elegant, with skin that rippled like liquid mercury. Chancellor Radix, Tavius said coldly, I should have known. The Chancellor of the High Council smiled thinly. My dear Prince, did you really think we'd let you and this human meddle with forces beyond your understanding? Lyra's mind raced. You're behind the obsidian hand. A regrettable necessity. Radix's skin flickered with false sympathy. Our ancestors built this archive to harness the power of the stars themselves. Such knowledge cannot be trusted to outsiders. More tremors rocked the structure. Nash scrambled down to their level, nearly falling as the bridge beneath him fluctuated. The prophecy speaks of unity, Tavius argued. Two peoples working together. The prophecy speaks of choice, Radix cut him off. And we've made ours. Luminara's power will remain in Luminarian hands. He raised his arm, revealing a crystal device fused to his skin, even if we must tear our world apart to ensure it. The device pulsed, sending waves of energy through the archive's crystal matrix. The tremors intensified, and Lyra watched in horror as cracks began spreading through the platforms above. You're overloading the system, she realized. The entire network of ruins will collapse, yes. Radix's skin swirled with dark purpose. Better that than letting it fall into human hands. The surface will be devastated, but our deepest cities will survive, will rebuild stronger and purer than before. Nash pulled out his data tablet. The energy readings are off the scale. If those ruins collapse, the crystal chain reaction will destroy everything, including your precious pure cities. Tavius stepped forward, his skin blazing with royal authority. Stand down, Chancellor, that's an order. You're not king yet, my prince. Radix's device pulsed again, the barrier at the entrance shattered, admitting his obsidian hand troops. And now you never will be. Lyra's attention caught on something behind the Chancellor, a familiar geometric pattern larger than any they'd seen before. The pieces clicked into place. Tavius, she whispered urgently, remember the hologram, the key of light. He followed her gaze, understanding dawning in his expression. But how do we? Trust me, she grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the central platform. Nash, buy us time. Her assistant nodded grimly, pulling out a small device of his own. Hey, Chancellor, let's see how your crystals handle a sonic pulse. He activated the device, sending high-frequency waves through the chamber. The Luminarians cried out, their light-sensitive skin overwhelmed by the resonating crystals. Even Radix stumbled, his device's energy flow disrupting. Lyra and Tavius reached the central platform. The geometric pattern towered above them, its spiraling designs now clearly recognizable as a massive lock mechanism. The prophecy, Lyra said, heart-pounding. One of stars, one of Earth. It wasn't about political unity, it was about this moment, this choice. Tavius's skin rippled with realization. The Ancient Ones built this place to be operated by both peoples together, a failsafe against exactly this kind of abuse. Another tremor shook the archive. Above them, storage matrices began to fall, their precious knowledge lost forever. If you do this, Radix shouted over the chaos, you'll give humans access to our most sacred powers. No, Tavius replied, his skin glowing with certainty. We'll be fulfilling our ancestors' wishes. True strength lies in unity, not purity. He clasped Lyra's hand tighter, and together they pressed their palms against the crystal lock. Light exploded from the contact point, human bioelectricity, meeting Luminarian energy manipulation in perfect synchronization. The geometric pattern blazed to life, sending pulses of stabilizing energy through the entire planetary network. The tremors ceased. The falling platforms froze in place, suspended by bridges of renewed light. Impossible, Radix breathed, his skin pale with shock. No, Lyra said, watching as new holograms filled the chamber, displaying the true history of human Luminarian cooperation. Inevitable. The Obsidian Hand troops lowered their weapons, their own skin patterns showing confusion and wonder at the ancient knowledge now surrounding them. Nash laughed shakily. So, I guess this means I can stop cataloging ruins and start studying ancient alien tech instead. But Lyra barely heard him. She was transfixed by the streams of data now flowing through the archive, secrets and wonders beyond imagination. Beside her, Tavius's skin rippled with similar awe. They had prevented a catastrophe, but she knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be helping both their peoples navigate this new future together. A future that, despite Radix's best efforts, would be built on cooperation rather than isolation, on unity rather than purity. And perhaps Lyra thought as Tavius's hand remained warm in hers, on something even more powerful than ancient prophecies: trust, freely given and earned. 2 weeks after the events at the Archive of Ages, Lyra stood before the Luminarian High Council, her research data projected in crystalline holograms around the chamber. The once imposing council members now watched her with a mix of reluctant respect and lingering uncertainty. The activation of the archive wasn't just about preventing destruction, she explained, manipulating the displays to show the spreading network of awakened ruins. It was the beginning of a technological renaissance your ancestors planned millennia ago. Behind her, Nash nodded encouragingly as he managed the more complex data streams. They'd spent days preparing this presentation, knowing it could determine the future of human-Luminarian relations. "And you expect us to simply share these discoveries with Earth?" Counselor Petra asked, her skin flickering with skepticism. The arrest of Chancellor Radix had left her as the leading voice of traditional values. "The artifacts themselves make that choice for us," Tavius spoke up from his seat in the royal box. "They respond only to joint human-Luminarian operation. Our ancestors understood something we forgot: the strength of diversity." Lyra tried not to let her gaze linger too long on him. Their shared ordeal had created a connection neither of them fully understood yet. Instead, she focused on the next hologram, a map of strange energy signatures spreading through Luminara's crystal forests. "The ruins aren't just repositories of knowledge," she continued. "They're nodes in a planetary network designed to—" The chamber's doors burst open. Jasper Venn rushed in, his normally composed demeanor shattered, skin pulsing with alarm. "Your Highness, Council members, the prison complex has been breached. Chancellor Radix has escaped." The chamber erupted in chaos. Guards rushed to secure the exits as council members demanded explanations. But Lyra noticed something else. The holographic displays were fluctuating, showing new energy patterns emerging across the planet. "He's activating more ruins," she realized, but without proper synchronization. "The entire crystal matrix could shatter," Tavius finished, joining her at the display. Where would he go? What could he possibly hope to achieve now? Nash cleared his throat. "Actually, I might know." All eyes turned to him. "While cataloging the ruins, I found references to something called the Stellar Forge. It's supposed to be the source of Luminara's crystal technology hidden somewhere in the planet's core." "The heart chamber," Jasper breathed. "It was sealed ages ago, deemed too powerful to control, but with the archive's activation." Another tremor shook the chamber, stronger than any they'd felt before. Through the windows, they could see new crystal formations erupting from the ground, their patterns chaotic and unstable. "Radix means to reach the heart chamber before anyone can stop him," Tavius said, his skin dark with worry. "With that power, he could reshape Luminara itself." "Then we stop him," Lyra brought up new data streams. "Nash, show them what we found in the archive about the old access tunnels." As Nash manipulated the displays, Petra's skin flickered with surprise. "You knew about the heart chamber, why didn't you report this?" "Because some knowledge needs to be earned," Lyra replied. "We've spent weeks studying the archive's security protocols, learning why certain technologies were sealed away. We needed to understand the responsibility before sharing the power." Tavius's skin rippled with pride and something deeper. "And now?" "Now we don't have a choice." Lyra highlighted a particular tunnel route. "These passages were designed for emergencies. They'll take us directly to the heart chamber, but they can only be traversed by partnered humans and Luminarians," Nash finished. "Like everything else the ancients built." The council chamber grew quiet as understanding settled in. Everything, the prophecy, the archive, even Radix's betrayal, had led to this moment of choice. Tavius stepped forward. "I'll go with Lyra. Nash and Jasper can coordinate from here, using the archive to stabilize the crystal matrix as much as possible." "Your Highness," Petra protested, "you can't risk." "My life, my future," his skin blazed with determination. This is exactly what a true leader must risk. The old ways are changing, counselor. We can guide that change or be broken by it. Another tremor rocked the chamber. Through the windows, the crystal forest had begun to glow with dangerous intensity. Lyra met Tavius's gaze. In his skin patterns, she saw not just determination but trust, friendship, and perhaps something more precious still. Whatever happened in the heart chamber would change everything for their peoples and for them. Well, she said, managing a small smile, shall we go save your planet again? His answering smile sparked patterns of light across his skin that needed no translation. Together, they rushed from the chamber, ready to face whatever challenges awaited in the depths of Luminara's ancient heart. Behind them, Nash called out, "Try not to activate any more world-changing prophecies down there." But Lyra hardly heard him. Her mind was already racing ahead to the challenge before them and to the future that might await on the other side. The descent to Luminara's core felt endless. Lyra and Tavius followed the ancient maintenance tunnels, their path lit by the prince's bioluminescence and the increasingly unstable crystal formations that erupted around them. The heart chamber was never meant to be accessed like this, Tavius said as they navigated another crystal-studded passage. The ancients built it as a forge of creation, not a weapon. Lyra's hand brushed against his as they squeezed through a narrow section. The contact sent a different kind of energy through her, one that had nothing to do with crystal matrices or planetary cores. Your ancestors understood the danger of too much power in any single pair of hands, she replied. That's why everything here requires cooperation. Their communicator crackled. Nash's voice came through, distorted but urgent. The crystal growths are accelerating. Whatever Radix is doing down there, it's affecting the entire planetary network. What about the surface cities? Tavius asked, his skin patterns betraying his concern for his people. Jasper and the Council are evacuating the most threatened areas, Nash replied. But we're running out of time. They emerged into a vast cavern that took Lyra's breath away. Crystal spires rose like frozen lightning, their surfaces alive with flowing energy. At the center, a massive door covered in familiar geometric patterns stood sealed. The heart chamber, Tavius breathed. And you're too late. Chancellor Radix stepped from behind a crystal formation, his skin now embedded with a network of crystal shards that pulsed with stolen power. I've already begun the transformation. Lyra studied the fallen Chancellor. The crystal integration seemed to be spreading through his body like a disease. You're killing yourself. I'm becoming something greater. Radix's voice resonated with unnatural harmonics. The Ancient Ones were weak, afraid of true power. They built in all these failsafes, these requirements for cooperation, but I've found a way around them. The ground shook violently. Through their communicator, they heard Nash swearing. The crystal matrix is approaching critical instability. The whole network could collapse. Let it collapse, Radix snarled. From its ashes I'll forge a new Luminara, pure, perfect, eternal. He raised his crystalline arms, and energy surged through the cavern. Crystal growths exploded from the walls, forcing Lyra and Tavius to dive in opposite directions. The door, Lyra shouted, spotting the familiar activation panels on either side. If we can reach it. You'll what? Continue perpetuating the lie of cooperation. Radix's lightning-like crystal extensions lashed out, barely missing them. Humans are a contamination. The prophecy was a mistake. But Lyra had stopped listening. Something in the crystal patterns around them had caught her attention, a rhythm, a pulse that felt familiar. Tavius, she called out, dodging another crystal spike. The heart chamber, it's already active, isn't it? That's what.